So if I was trying to write a paper about it, I would be really strategic and I'd look up the definition and then I'd look at a couple articles. But really what it means to me is like people who build a community in a place and lift up the institutions and the individuals and the families, and then at some point like some of the infrastructure from the city or the state or the federal government, some of the people who have more resources from different communities or even from their own community end up taking advantage of the vulnerability of folks and just kind of like capitalizing. I want to use that word because it is hella about capitalism. I like the Vietwa in the first place. The Vietwa that used to have the young coconuts. I love them shit so much. I would get a young coconut every day during lunch when I worked at Aki. It was hella bomb. I had to put the homies onto it. But then that closed down, and I felt like that was a part of gentrification. Like, how does something with so many regular customers close down? Like, did they not want to exist? Like, that's not true, because they still have the spot on 12th and Jackson. So I'm glad that, the business exists, but for some reason they couldn't afford. I'm guessing that's what it was. Inherently, it ends up being white folks because we talk about who's accessing the system, and so gentrification is not white specifically, but if you think about who has most of the resources in the country and then in the region, and then if that's who has the resources, then that's who's going to be able to wield those and use them to their advantage. And so that's why race has ended up playing such a big part, even though it's not always just about race. And so now I want to know, like, what is gentrification going to look like over the next course of between now and when y'all are my age. Rent is huge. We chose to move back to Seattle from Renton before our baby came because Seattle is home and we want to be here, but part of leaving Seattle was it didn't feel like home anymore because of where we were at, and a lot of that had to do with gentrification. So I feel like that's a weird cycle. It's not like Seattle changed in 2 years and all of a sudden that's why I came back. Like, I think there's even less people that I remember and less community that I recognize than there was before, but we just wanted to feel like we were more central and closer, so my wife's family could access us more, from Bremerton, and my mom lives in Seattle, my brother lives in Seattle, I work in Seattle, and so I'm glad that my baby's birth certificate's gonna get to say Seattle, because everywhere deserves respect, but no offense, like when you see someone say they're from Seattle, but they're from like Moses Lake, and then you're like, fam, like don't say you're from Seattle, like say that you have relocated to Seattle and you enjoy the community or whatever, like I don't know. But I think about all the times where it'd be like Saturday morning and I would go like walk over to Rainier Playfield and watch Little League games, like that was super exciting for me. Or even though it made parking hella shitty and I didn't like how it like crowded the neighborhood, but the farmers market on Wednesdays, like I love going over to that when they would serve hot food. I haven't made music in a long time, but so many songs that I wrote while I was standing underneath the Columbia City Plaza that then became a dog walking place or a dog cleaning place, and then they tore down that beautiful art on the side. So I'm glad I still got pictures of that, but I wish my daughter would have been able to see that art herself and not just in a picture. And so when I think about like how did it feel to leave, in some ways it felt relieving. It felt like dope. I don't have to experience this trauma on a daily basis of feeling like the shit that I love is disintegrating in front of me. I get to go somewhere else where, we went to live with my sister and I got to feel that love on a daily basis because Columbia City stopped feeling like that place for me. Even though I was happy when I got to run into students on a regular basis, you know, or the times where I'm in my apartment and I'm watching TV and then I hear students outside having like, I don't want to say inappropriate, but having conversations that they wouldn't want their parents or their teachers to be hearing, you know. So I love that kind of thing where I'm like, I can't escape it as long as it's the people who I care about. But when I can't escape it and it's a bunch of people who don't value my community or who look at me a certain way or who say things like it's getting better and about my community, and I think, well, how's it getting better if we're all leaving? That doesn't make sense to me, because wouldn't it be better if we were together? And so, yeah, in some ways it's relieving. I'm still trying to make sense of it.